We are not equal. We are not equal in life. We are just equal under the ground, not on the ground. I wish to reach a conclusion where we will be able to share what is on the ground and not to share what is underground, which is the bodies of our loved ones.
Ali Abu Awad, like almost 2 million other Palestinians, live under Israeli occupation in the West Bank of Palestine. Israel occupied the West Bank in 1987 during the First Palestinian Uprising, or Intifada as it's more commonly known. Today, Israel has turned the West Bank into a de facto security state, with up to 400 checkpoints, manned by Israeli soldiers inside Palestinian territory at any given time. In spite of international condemnation, they are also continuing to build the security wall. The wall is supposed to protect Israeli citizens against attacks from Palestinian militants, but it's also tearing Palestinian society apart. The apartheid wall, as Palestinians refer to it, is not built on internationally recognized borders. It's built where the Israeli state decides. It often cuts farmers off from their land or families from their loved ones. In Palestine, there is nowhere you can go without being in the shadow of the wall. Many Palestinians feel they have no other option but to resist the occupation, even if it means paying the highest price for their freedom. Ali knows this resistance all too well. He grew up in a family that resisted occupation during the First and Second Intifada. He remembers both his father and mother spending many years in Israeli jails. He lost his brother and an uncle to the violence. Ali himself was exiled in Jordan while recovering from injuries he suffered at the hands of Israeli soldiers. After realizing that violence only leads to more violence, Ali started looking for other alternatives.
When people ask me why you are doing what you are doing, why you are involved in popular resistance and non-violence and reconciliation, I always say that I knew very well that the killer of my brother wants my humanity to be buried in the same grave where I refused to do. I will never be this guy victim. Israel cannot victimize me because I am free from inside. How can they fight what I believe? That's why Palestinian will be free. And this is something that Israelis doesn't recognize. They don't know. And they have to know. We're gonna let them know. Not with hatred, not with weapons, not with bombs. It's not our language.
But will the language of peace work? Does Ali's style of peaceful resistance stand a chance to make a difference?
If you feel so small to make a difference, try to sleep with a mosquito in one room. Just think about it. A mosquito can change your life that night. So how can't you change the world if you believe in yourself?
Ali is attending a parent circle meeting in East Jerusalem. The parent circle brings together bereaved families from both sides of the conflict. Here, people get the opportunity to share their pain and to reconcile on a personal basis. The parent circle also arranged for people from both sides of the divide to speak about their experiences in schools and other forums. It's at one of these meetings that Ali first met Robbie Damelin. It's also through this contact that Ali came to believe peace for Israelis has a very different meaning than peace for Palestinians.
Back home, and do something positive with it.
There is different needs for peace in different sides. There is different places for partnership. So there is different tools. If reconciliation will serve the purpose of my partners in Israel, reconciliation cannot serve the purpose of my independent here. Because the way to peace here is non-violence resistant, which is a revolution where people could be killed. The way to peace in Tel Aviv, in many other minds, that peace agreement and sending soldiers and create borders. Where is it? I have to go back to my nation with something effective, practical.
One of the most important things in the lessons that we learn along this path of trying to find a way to reconcile is that you need to listen in order to understand. Because many times we don't hear what the other person is saying, and we don't understand their needs. And if you don't understand the needs of the other, there's no way that you can find a path to ending any kind of conflict.
Robbie and Ali's friendship goes back to early March 2002, when Robbie's son David was killed by a Palestinian sniper while doing duty at a checkpoint. David was 29 years old and doing reserve duty. The checkpoint separated two Palestinian villages and was renowned for making Palestinians wait for long periods of time before allowing them to pass. David was the commander at the checkpoint. At first light on the morning of the 3rd of March, Thayer, an 18-year-old Palestinian, took careful aim and killed 6 Israeli soldiers, including David. Thayer was later caught and sentenced to life imprisonment. Robbie still clearly remembers the day the army came to tell her that David was killed.
One of the first things that I said is that you may not kill anybody in the name of my child. And so there must have been within me some kind of premonition of what I was going to do and what choices I would make. I wanted to do something that would prevent other families, both Palestinian and Israeli, from experiencing this pain of losing a child.
Known about since we started with.
To deal with her pain, Robbie joined the parents' circle. She decided to write a letter to the sniper's family, explaining to them who her son was and what he was doing at the checkpoint that day. She then asked Ali to deliver the letter to Thayer in jail. Ali delivered the letter, and together he and Robbie embarked on a path of peace and reconciliation. Robbie's hope was that Thayer would draft a reply. But she had to wait 5 years, and then the reply turned out to be a political statement. It was not the reply she expected. In the process, Robbie and Ali had become good friends, and Ali undertook to set up a meeting between Robbie and Thayer and the sniper's parents. So far, he's had no success, and also no contact with the parents himself.
Robbie, especially Robbie, understood a lot. And when she talk about kids, if you live in a refugee camp, you don't need anybody to teach you how to hate. When Robbie said that, I was so full of respect and love to Robbie. But on the other hand, following the next step, that's the problem. Israeli society mostly deal with dialogue, peace building, but Palestinian society, peace for them is a daily life action, ending the occupation, and they have to uprise for that. And Israelis are not willing to open their eyes, because otherwise it costs them a big price, which is coming here and resist the occupation in peaceful ways. They are not able to do.
For Ali, the struggle for freedom is his life. His earliest childhood memories are of occupation and the fight for freedom. His path is one he could not choose. He was born a freedom fighter. Ali Abu Awad was born into a politically active family. Both his mother and father were leaders in the resistance and spent long periods in jail or in exile. This made a huge impact on a young, impressionable boy. From an early age, he had learned to fight his own battles.
I remember when the army always attacked our house, especially in the first Intifada. And my mother was beaten in front of me, and my father. Israeli soldiers and security were swearing on everybody. Where I jumped and I tried to protect my mother. And my father slapped me on my face because he thought if he beat me, the army will not argue. They will not beat me. And it works. My father has to slap me on my face to protect me from the army. You know, I was upset with my parents that I was born. I was upset with them. Why you brought me to this? And today even when I see Palestinian mother saying, I'm sorry to bring kids to life. I didn't know it considered as a crime by Israeli law. When her 5 kids get killed in front of her eyes. And all of their fault was they are Palestinian.
Today, Ali finds himself in two worlds. On the one hand, he has his early childhood memories and the occupations that haunt him daily. On the other is his friendship with an Israeli mother who lost her son in the conflict and his relationship with the parent circle. He believes he is called to fight the occupation, but also to reconcile with the enemy. The occupation is making it increasingly difficult to reconcile these two worlds. He faces a stark choice. To make that choice, he knows he has to dig deep and rediscover what it means to be Palestinian. He needs to find out what it was that made Thayer choose the path of violence when he shot and killed David Damelin at the checkpoint.
I feel that I live in my suitcase. I feel that I have to be in many places to join everybody and to support everybody who have the same. So non-violence resistance start in different places in the West Bank. So I need to drive from here to Hebron, to Ramallah, to Jenin, to Nablus, wherever. But I'm not able to drive to Israel because even though I got a permission, Palestinians are forbidden by the Israeli government to drive inside Israel. Either it is Jerusalem, Tel Aviv, whatever. We are in Aida refugee camp. It is for the people who have been thrown out in 1948 when was the disaster, the Nakba for the Palestinian. They lived here in Bethlehem in this refugee camp called Aida, and the Israeli authority finally create this wall, the apartheid, the separated wall, and they separate between families who lives this side, and there is 2 houses still on the other side where they gave them permission to pass the checkpoint between Israel, which is Jerusalem, and I mean the Israeli side and the Palestinian side. So they are allowed to come here by permission, but what I was told is they are not allowed to get inside Israel. This permission is just to pass the checkpoint. So if they need anything, they have to cross the checkpoint to be with the community here.
The wall has a huge impact on daily life in Palestine. It's making normal movement and economic activity impossible. This family will have to go through a checkpoint soon to reach their olive trees on the other side of the wall. There is no guarantee that they will be allowed through or to return once they are there. And even if they are allowed passage, they might have to spend hours in the queues that form during busy times. There's an international moratorium on the continued construction of the wall. In spite of this, it's growing longer and higher day by day. When completed, the wall will cut Palestinians off from 8% of their land, thereby effectively redrawing the borders in the Middle East.
This wall is a hope-killing machine. When those kids grow up in such a conditions inside the refugee camp, how can they have hope? How can they believe in peace? Today we received an invitation from Mr. Ahmed Qrea, Abu Ala. We are going to the Jerusalem University where Mr. Muratinos will be receiving the honored doctorate from the university for his work for peace between Israelis and Palestinians. علي أبو عواد مرحبا. علي أبو عواد كيف حالك؟ تمام مرحبا. It's so important to create the network between the politician and the leaders and the people. We need to work as one family. That's what we need to work with, because public revolution, public uprising, it involved everybody. It's not a political party. You are the only person who allows me to come with my suitcase to your office without check, without security.
This is not
without
good, man.
mistake.
A big mistake.
It means a strength. It's a strength step. مرحبا. أنا متأسف أزعجتكم على الأكل.
How are you?
صحة.
Fine.
I'm okay. Robbie sends her regard and
Send back.
congratulations.
Well, very cool.
And I'm so proud of my Palestinian identity, which give you this honor.
Thank you. Come. The gang would not check you again.
I will do.
Ali next visits Aisha. She was involved in the early days of the struggle as a member of the Palestinian Liberation Organization. She was also a good friend of Ali's father and mother. Her son died in an Israeli jail during a hunger strike.
I'm looking at this newspaper when Ali al-Ja'fari, his Ahmad's brother, that he was killed by the Israelis inside the prison because he refused to eat. It was a hunger strike. They forced him to eat by putting a tube to his stomach, and they killed him with other two people. And this newspaper since 1980, and his body was arrested also. They hold the body for 13 years, and it was released in 1993. His body was released from the prison. خلصنا بس بضل عندنا المشي في المخيم نيجي بعدين
بس تتصل كرسانة.
نيجي على البراج. Here we are entering Jenin. I have a meeting with the Al-Aqsa Martyrs Brigade. It is the military wing of Fatah movement. These are the guys who lead the fight against the Israeli occupation and the big fight in 2002 when Israel attacked Jenin refugee camp.
أيمن زكارنا بالجبل.
Aman.
حبيب علي.
Aman. No, we're trying to figure out where is the guys and where we have to meet. They have to manage different things. Those kind of meetings are not, doesn't come like this. There is no schedule for those meetings. The only meeting that you cannot put a schedule for is such a meeting.
أبو محمد مرحبا. بلال زكارني معك، وينك؟ شفتك عند الجامعة. وين أنت؟ شفتك عند الجامعة، وينك هاس؟
The leaders have been released from an Israeli jail as part of a peace agreement. They still live under severe restrictions though. They have to report to jail every evening and sleep there. They're also not allowed contact with the media. They can be rearrested for allowing us to film this meeting.
بإسرائيل حتى هاي إسرائيل رفضتها. حتى هاي إسرائيل رفضتها.
Ali is trying to convince them to join the peace movement, but it's a hard sell to career soldiers. After the meeting, we are taken to an undisclosed venue for a meal. The fighters are not allowed to convene in groups larger than 2. This meeting is in clear contravention of the terms and conditions of their release. But sharing a meal with friends is part of what it means to be Palestinian. Ali takes some time off to visit his family. His work in the peace movement takes him away from home often, and sometimes he only sees his family every second week. This is putting severe strain on his relationship with his wife.
You know, we have no water to drink, and the settlers having swimming pools. Swim pool for the settlers, and for us we have no water.
Ali has a son and 2 daughters. He grew up an orphan of the struggle and realizes that his children will be the next generation of struggle orphans. But like he said, the struggle for freedom is not one he controls. It controls him. He realizes that there is a price to be paid for the freedom of this land. But tonight, the Awad family is just a regular family going out for pizza.
Baba, Baba. You cannot ask the other side to go negotiate and sit on the table of peace while you are putting your feet on his neck. This will not create a solution. Violence is what we believe in. It's not a tactic. It is a strategy. Because we know very well the complexity of the Jewish nation, we start knowing, and we know the complexity of the international politics, and we will never be the victims of anybody. And when you give up feeling a victim, the whole planet supports you. Here is the place where we're gonna make troubles today.
The little town of Nebi Saleh lies on the outskirts of Ramallah in the West Bank. It's almost completely surrounded by Israeli settlements.
We're going to have the weekly activity in Nebi Saleh. It's a village of 400 people. And every Friday we have a kind of demonstration where people ask for their normal right to live normally in their land, where the settlers are attacked their land and they stole it. The biggest problem is about also water, because there is a spring down there where people try to reach it, and the settlers try to label even the water, that water belongs to us as settlers. And they create from this a big conflict. It seems like it's forbidden for Palestinians to drink. That's why I love water.
As an act of resistance, Palestinian farmers started farming this land close to the settlement. They abandoned it earlier after threats of violence from the settlers. According to an Israeli law, if land is not worked for 5 years, it reverts back to the state. To keep the land, the villagers of Nebi Saleh have to work it, no matter the dangers. It is, after all, their land.
We feel that we can't live in other place. We haven't other place to live in because we have the right in our land. And we want the same right for everyone in the world.
In Nebi Saleh, the battle lines are drawn. The Israeli Defense Force takes up their positions.
Well, what are we expecting today? Tear gas, rubber bullet, maybe live bullet, you never know. Whatever this dream of freedom will cause us, we are ready for. And we know that we are doing the most legal approach, which is non-violence resistant.
But first they share a meal. The protesters are joined by a growing number of Israeli and international supporters.
Eat and drink, then go fight. מה שלומכם? כן? לא, לאנשים אני אומר. אם אתה כועס זה בסדר, אבל אסור לפגוע באנשים. אסור. יהיה בסדר, יאללה. No, I was telling him that you believe one day all of this will end. Then he said, I hope so. Then I said, whatever will happen, we have to bring a new culture that it's okay to be angry, but it's forbidden to hurt others. And he agrees.
The Israeli government is now busy promulgating a law that will make it illegal for Israeli citizens to join protests in the West Bank. If passed, the law will make it possible for the security forces to arrest and detain Israeli citizens who join protests.
They prevent us to reach the spring because they said it's through a demonstration. They don't want us to do it through demonstration. And all what we ask is we are not under any label. We are asking for our single and legal human rights. To reach the spring, we have a problem of water. The settlers are holding 85% of the water, of the resources of water of this land. So the law is not here. The philosophy of non-violence is to be a believer. Believe is so important. I am not sure that the one who throw a stone believe that by this stone he will liberate Al-Aqsa Mosque. But the one who lay down in front of the bulldozer, for sure he's sure of what he's doing because he put his life easily. What you call it violence, we call it resistance. What they call in Israel about the fighters here, they call them terrorists. Palestinians call them freedom fighters. What they call soldiers for defense and security, we call occupiers. Those values need to be known in our mind. If they keep looking at terrorists and using this word while you are building peace, you are a violent person.
It seems like Ali is fighting a losing battle. Will this kind of peaceful protest have any effect on the relationship of occupier and occupied?
This is the roots of the non-violence culture which is started. So for sure it's helping. It's a new culture. When kids stand among soldiers, start laughing, shouting, doing all the peaceful activities, this teased the soldiers so much. So controlling, those kids are not grown up. Controlling is not for them. I mean, they cannot control themselves.
The situation soon gets out of control. Palestinian youths take up positions in the hills surrounding Nebi Saleh and start throwing stones at the soldiers. The soldiers respond with rubber bullets and tear gas. The protest has turned violent. The regular Friday drama in Nebi Saleh has now reached its all too familiar conclusion.
The difference between Israeli parents and Palestinian parents, that Israeli parents can really, and I believe that, can really prevent of sending their kids to become killers or to get killed. But Palestinian parents has no control, because the one who is in charge on the ground are the soldiers, the settlers, the government. They don't own their own education among their kids. Because if you live in such a structure, you have no control about the education that you want to give to your son. What that?
Ali's Saturday stop is the ancient city of Hebron. Here a group of 400 Israeli citizens purchased land in the center of the old city. Palestinians living in the area protested, and the Israeli Defense Force dispatched soldiers to protect the settlers. Today, the 400 settlers are protected by 1,200 soldiers. Roads have been closed, and Palestinians are barred from using certain streets.
It is non-violence activity, it's peaceful resistance, no stones, no violence, nothing.
But this is the West Bank, and the situation can change very quickly. Although it's not completely unexpected, Ali is shocked by the violent nature of today's protest. But for once, the violence and intimidation coming from the soldiers seems to be directed at the Israeli supporters.
This is madness! What is wrong with you?
What's wrong with you? Why do you sleep at night peaceful? You are the terrorists! The terrorists, man! You're fucking terrorists! We have no weapons! We have no weapons!
Ali knows now that peaceful resistance can only work with help from international friends and the threat of violence. He's worried that his involvement here might jeopardize his relationship with the parent circle.
אם לעבור ברחוב זה הפך להיות לא חוקי, אז יש בעיה במדינת ישראל. העם הישראלי שסבל הרבה יותר.
He also knows that he still has to help Robbie complete her journey of reconciliation by setting up a meeting with Thar's parents.
1, 2, 3, 4! Fascism no more! Fascism no more!
1, 2, 3, 4! Occupation no more!
Ali Abu Awad has been on a journey to discover what it means to him to be Palestinian. He is now one of the leaders of the peace movement in the West Bank. He receives an unexpected message from Thar's parents. They want to meet with him. Ali is unsure what to expect. Previously, they were not interested in meeting him or Robbie Damelin. Thar's father invites him in.
نفس التصميم
يا الله زلمة هذه جنة
وتو اخوي يشتغلوا
امبارح جينا وقعدنا في الدار بس ما حكيناش ورجعنا.
The meeting starts with coffee. This is a Palestinian custom and a good sign. Then, out of the blue, Tar's father hands Ali a statement that Tar wrote from jail. This statement is very different from the previous one.
This letter, it's by Thaer himself talking about Thaer as a child, about Thaer as a revolutionary, about Thaer as a normal, ordinary human being, about Thaer as a fighter. I didn't read it yet, but I know this letter should be published to everywhere, especially in the Israeli side. This letter, everybody should understand what this guy passed through, what was his life, what's still his family life, and what happened. Because it's easy to take event in a political way where you judge people. But reading this story, I think this is the only truth in this event. The full story of the Wad al-Haramiya activity, the date is 2002, by the hand of the sniper, the prisoner, Thaer Qaid Hamad. Thaer is talking about the story of his life, that he was, when he was a child, he was playing games with other kids when they hear a shooting. And there were many people comes to that shooting, and suddenly people start talking about a murder, somebody who was killed by the Israelis. Then Thaer realized, heard the name of his uncle, Nabil Hamad, and he thought, when he listened to the name, he thought there was an earthquake comes to his body, and he was shocked. It's a long letter. It's a very long one, so.
لوين وصلت؟
هذا هاي وهاي. كان حياته كيف علاقته مع عمه وكيف كان.
You know what? It's so hard to realize what is behind the label. I always heard about Thaer, but I never learned that deep by Thaer, not by anybody else, about his emotional as a child. And I start thinking of myself when I was playing games with my brother who was killed. I don't know why. Is it our destiny to grow up and become from being normal kids to lose all of our hope and dreams, and to be in the jail for the rest of our life because there is one or two settlement or a group of settlers want just to live and to take the land and the right and the dreams of those kids. And David, who served on the checkpoint, he should defend and protect the settler's life, and the life of Thaer when he was a child doesn't mean anything to the international community and to the Israelis. It doesn't mean anything. And when he become like this, he face a very hard destiny. Why? Why we should keep facing that? I heard it from Robbie. You don't need anybody to teach you how to hate. If you live such a condition, it just make the job for you.
Ali is excited to share the news with Robbie. She's been waiting for a reply from Tar and his parents for a long time. Ali calls Robbie to tell her about the meeting with Tar's parents and the statement he wrote from jail. He is surprised by her reaction.
I just phoned Robbie and I wanted to tell her the good news because Thaer wrote his personal life story. But she was upset because I didn't tell her that I'm going there. So why do I have to swallow all of this? I don't know. I mean, I thought I'm doing her a nice thing, telling her about Thaer and what happened with the process. because she was waiting for a long time to know about him, about his life. The issue of Thayer and Robi is Thayer and Robi, but it's also not just Thayer and Robi. It's the conflict, it's the situation. I mean, it's the reconciliation that we talk about. It's not just Robi Damlin or Thayer. So, yeah. Sometimes it takes time to understand.
At the next Parents' Circle meeting in Bethlehem, Robi refuses to speak to the film crew. She says she feels betrayed and wants no further part in the documentary. We asked to leave so the meeting can continue.
Her first reaction was like, how dare are you? How can you do that? Then I have to deal with this. I have to deal with the occupation. I have to deal with all the pressure. I have to deal that day with the settlers in Hebron. I have to deal with all of that. Then I said to myself, fuck it. I mean, what? Do I have to deal with all of this? And now when I start getting involved in the story, I become also guilty. I don't want to be involved in Robi's story and the sniper anymore. This is my decision. I don't want to be involved in this story anymore. I will be involved in the case, but not with Robi and the sniper. And I didn't meet the sniper. It was his family. What Israel is doing today on the ground is killing our hope. So on one hand, you have to deal with this. On the other hand, you have to keep the strength to reconcile and for peace building, which is sometimes impossible. Because you cannot keep beating me and expect me every time I will forgive you.
عقبال ما نحتفل Happy birthday to you Happy birthday to Ali Happy birthday to you.
If I reconcile with Robi Damlin, sure I reconcile with Robi Damlin. I have no problem in the planet with Robi Damlin. The opposite. I wish her to live forever and to have good health because I love her. It's not about me and Robi. It's about Robi's government. It's about those settlers who belong to the same nation. It's about those soldiers who belong to those families. If they don't have the strength to stand to forbid this, it will not be reconciliation, because I have the strength to stand in my community to say we will not go to violence. Killing is forbidden. If I have the strength to do that, I need a real partner. With all of my respect, I mean, Parent Circle, when it gives me the chance to be in 1,000 classroom in Israel, where the Palestinian story were never told, it's for me, it's a treasure.
Ali drives to see his family. His wife has since moved in with her sister. She's considering a separation.
Sometimes I feel that I'm a bad person because my kids needs me. And sometimes I try to excuse. There is no excuse. I was angry with my mother because she left me and she was involved in politics. There is no excuse. And but I feel that I have no choice. It's like a mission that you've been given. You have no choice. And if I stay at home and if I try to live normally, it's not normal. I cannot. It's my blood. It's something inside me. And sometimes it takes me 3-4 weeks to see them. I don't want to be a hero. I want to be a hero of my family. I want my daughter to love me as an open father. That's where I can recognize myself as a hero. And the big win is their freedom.
Ali wants to guarantee a good future for his children. He has pain in his heart, and He wants to invest that pain by non-violent resistance and the peace process.
I feel this is the most safe place. But it comes with this earthquake inside you because I start judging myself. I mean, when I look to the eyes of my 3-month-old daughter today, I look to her eyes and I look to myself and I say, what I'm doing? I mean, I can't spend the rest of my life with this young, beautiful kid. And I'm leaving here and they're not in a good condition. But you know, we paid jointly, we paid the price of the occupation. And my family paid 2 prices. The price of my movement and the price of the occupation.
She understands that it's really very hard for him and her and the children to be far away from each other, but there is no problem because he's working for his children's future.
I feel sometimes that I don't own myself. And sometimes I just want to deal with it in any way. Because of this But sometimes I miss them. I miss them and I have fear. I have fear that what happened to my brother could happen to his son or my son. And I don't know by that time what I will do. But I'm not controlled by this fear. This fear is not managing my movement. But I have it inside me. I want my son to grow up and sit on this rock while he will not be thinking about conflict and what happened to his father and what will happen to him tomorrow. I want him to come and visit. Even with Israeli kids, we don't hate anybody. We hate this occupation.
Baba, 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 Bibi.
We believe in our dream. Yes, we have a future. They have a future. You know why? Because they insist for their living. We are part of this land, like any rock, like any trees, like any beautiful girls. We will be free, right? We will be free.